Number 2 now for this working in the ICT unit number 2. Again, we're continuing to look at the nature of the industry. And when we're looking at the outcomes here, we're really looking at the first outcome of a student needs to be able to examine the nature of the ICT industry. In this set of slides, the part 2 slides, we're looking at emerging technologies, converging technologies, career pathways, and industry currency. This set of slides links very closely to the first part of your assessment task for Unit 2, where you're going to need to research an ICT career pathway and produce a presentation about that career. Okay, so check your assessment tasks for further details there, but just keep in mind this set of slides links directly to that part of your task. So to get started, we're talking emerging technologies, our first thing. So remember, you should be writing some notes here. So you should have a heading called emerging technology, and you should be writing some notes about what an emerging technology is. An emerging technology is any new technology or any technology that is coming soon. We're talking about things that might not exist just yet, or things that only have just started to exist. When we're talking emerging technology, we're talking about the areas of growth in the ICT industry. Some of the specific things that we talk about in emerging technologies might be things like blockchain, okay? The type of ICT technology that's being used for Bitcoin. We might be talking about artificial intelligence, the type of technology that is behind applications like Siri and Google's Alexa that are able to listen to what you say, understand them, interpret them, and then provide you with a relevant response. We're talking about the Internet of Things as an emerging technology. Now, the Internet of Things is this network that we have where we have all of these smart devices worldwide that suddenly can connect to the internet and do things. We can control them using the internet. We can not only control them using the internet, but we can actually use the internet on them. Just in my vicinity right now, if I'm talking about the Internet of Things and the things that I have right now that are connected to the internet near me, I have my Apple Watch, I have my iPhone, I have my iMac, I have my MacBook Air, I have my iPad. I've got a Brother photocopier printer. You might be able to hear it in the background making some noise. I've got a Google Home. I've got a smart TV that's connected to the internet. I've got a Foxtel box connected to the internet. These are all just in the room that I am in right now. These are devices connected to the internet. This is what we call the Internet of Things, things that are connected to the internet. More relevant to us right now in emerging technologies is technology, ICT technology to do with healthcare. Think about all of the ways that ICT is supporting the COVID crisis. The ability for things like 3D printed equipment for hospitals. I've seen companies that have changed their production lines so they're now producing valves for ventilators so that people can be given the medical care that they need, all because of things like emerging technologies. Talk about online learning spaces. The fact that you are right now listening to me over the internet, learning, writing notes, and then going to work on an assessment task later is emerging technology for us. Zoom, video conferencing is emerging technologies. We now talk converging technologies, and emerging and converging come together in the same heading in the syllabus, but they are not the same. Where an emerging technology is something new and cutting edge, artificial intelligence, robots, drones, virtual reality, 3D printing, those sorts of things, converging technology is getting those older existing technologies and merging them or converging them. So you'll see on the screen we've got an iPhone, and we think about all of the individual technologies that have been converged into one. Your iPhone provides the internet, provides a camera, video games, it can guide you through exercise, you can watch Netflix, you can listen to Spotify, you can still make phone calls, you can watch the news, you can print things, you could do an online course, you could check your maps, you could text people, email people, calculate things, do your online shopping. These are all individual technologies that have all converged into one single device. So a converging technology has happened in many different ways. The phone is a really great example that you could use in an exam scenario for a converging technology. And it's where different technology have been combined together and are integrated with one another into a single new technology. Okay? Emerging, now converging technologies. The next part that we need to look at are the career pathways that exist. Now, there are many career pathways, and I've listed just a few here. And I'm going to pick through a couple of them and talk about them. You could work in the ICT industry and you could be a project manager. And the role of a project manager is to ensure that a system that's being developed or a project that they are working on is being created correctly following the project's brief based on the requirements and completed in time and on time as required by the company that owns it. Because they're a manager, the role of a project manager looks at the whole project. They're making sure that all of the individual teams or all the individual people that are working on the project are doing their job, that they're on time, and that they're doing the job to the best of their ability. It's the project manager's responsibility to make sure that the project comes together in the end, is done on time, and also is done on budget, so within the cost limits that have been set by the client. You could also be a hardware technician. A hardware technician is responsible for setting up, maintaining, and repairing physical components of systems and networks. They might install network cables, they might install workstations, they might set up printers or other devices. Okay? Now, hardware technician, we're starting to get to the point, like I said in my previous lecture, where this sort of role is starting to potentially fade out as more and more people in society become more familiar with technology and how to connect them together themselves. Repairing still needs to be done by a technician, but that whole installation concept, most devices are now what we call plug and play, which means you literally just plug them in and they automatically install the software needed and they automatically start working. Okay? You could be a help desk operator. Now, this is one of those areas that I spoke about in our last lecture as being an area of real growth for the ICT industry. Because as more people start using technology, more things can go wrong, and therefore they need help. A help desk operator is sort of the role that we're preparing you for with this course. Okay, the IDT course is getting you ready for software applications in an ICT help desk sort of manner. A help desk operator is the person that answers the phone when you call and you need help. It's the person that answers the email. It's the person that has to deal with the frustrated user that can't get their technology to work, and they have to guide them through some troubleshooting processes to try and resolve the issue. So the help desk operator is a point of support within an organization, and they provide support for either a specific technology and system or generic support to a range of systems and technologies. If someone in your company has an issue with a program or a piece of hardware they're trying to use, they contact the help desk. The help desk person might speak to them via an online chat, email, or phone. They ask them questions to help understand their issue. They do some troubleshooting. They try to diagnose the issue based on what they've learned, and they try to resolve the issue specifically. If they can't, the help desk operator then refers this issue on to the relevant technician for that area. So if it was a hardware issue, they might then say, look, there's nothing I can help you with over the phone. I'm going to need to get a hardware technician to come and see you, and they'll be able to fix it. Okay, so that's the help desk manager. The help desk operator. You could also be a database administrator. Now, database administrators is one of those roles that could see some fairly significant growth when we're talking about data integrations. You can only integrate data if you've got a database to integrate to. So a database administrator is the person that makes sure that the database works, that it is valid and has data that hasn't been compromised, that the security is there. Their job is to plan, install, and configure the database, okay, as well as to design the database, manage the migration and integration of data, monitor the performance of the database, monitor the security of the database, complete the backups, recover data if there's been any sort of data problem. Anything to do with the database and how it runs and how it gets set up runs through the database administrator. So there's some key career pathways. There are plenty more that you can look at, and I would encourage you to go to the Jobs Outlook website. It's a government website. I've provided the link for you in our notes, and that will take you to a site that shows you the potential pay scales for someone in different roles, the sorts of things you might be doing, how many people are employed, is it an area of high skill or low skill. So there's a whole heap of information that's on that Job Outlook website. That's going to be a really valuable website when it comes to doing your assessment task. Next thing we talk about is industry currency. Now, when you normally hear the word currency, you're probably thinking money. We are not talking about money here. We are talking about how are you keeping up to date with what's happening in the industry. It's how are you keeping your skills and your knowledge up to date. It's great that I know a lot about Windows 95 because I used it so much when I was younger, but it's out of date technology now, so that is useless and it's not going to help me be an IT technician. If I want to be a technician, I need to be on the cutting edge of the new and emerging technologies, the new and emerging skills that are needed. And so I need to find out how I can do that. And it could be through retraining. It could be through reading journal articles. It could be through subscribing to relevant technology news feeds, okay? Keeping me up to date. It could be going out and working in IT industries every now and then with other companies to see what they're doing to understand whether I am up to date. It could be asking for scholarships and awards that encourage me to do further study. It could be speaking, just literally calling or having a mentorship with someone else that works in the industry. It could be doing extra courses. It could be trying to do extra training for license requirements to make sure that I'm able to do the work that I need. Having Cisco certification for networking, for example. Having Google certified educator training or Apple educator training. Okay? These are examples of industry currency for an IT teacher, but in an IT worker, there's a whole heap of different things that you can do. Probably thinking, why is it important to keep up to date? Well, it's pretty obvious. If you're not up to date with the technology, you can't do the work, and if you can't do the work, you will not get paid, and your employer will not keep you working at their company. So if you want to keep getting paid and if you want to keep working for your IT company, then you need to go out of your way to keep up to date and make sure that you have that relevant information. One main source of information that I recommend for you as a student to keep you up to date with what's happening is called TechRadar. You can go to the TechRadar website, techradar.com, and you can subscribe to their newsfeed, and they will send you either a weekly or a daily email to let you know everything that's happening in the technology industry right now. They'll tell you about the gossip around the new iPhone model, the new Samsung phone models, the new operating systems that are out there being tested, or security risks that have been found in programs like Zoom and things like that. It is the responsibility of these companies to keep us up to date, but we need to go and subscribe to the information that they are providing us with. One of the final areas we talk about in the syllabus is goals. We talk about the success of an organization and how the success of an organization is really built around how the workplace sets goals and how those workplace goals are linked directly to an individual's goals. Now, it's important that we have a successful business because that means we get more customers, means we make more money, and it means we keep our jobs. So that's why it's important for us to be successful, and we achieve that success by setting goals and achieving them. Some of the ways that we help our businesses be successful include, as IT workers, storing information digitally, sharing that information, maybe developing a website, teaching people how to do mail merges, setting up forms, setting up promotional material, running reports and analysis, creating files and documents, putting them onto the ICT systems and sharing them with people, organizing the storage of our information. These are some of the ways we can do it. But in the end, we need to have goals that align us to the success of our organization. So if I think of one particular organization, and we'll say Apple as an example, Apple's goal is to provide people, us, okay, users, to provide us with technology that enables us to connect to the world. And they want it to be as simple as possible, and they want it to be as majestic as possible. And this is why the Apple devices don't just focus on their function, but they also focus on their form. So that's why all of the devices are what we always use the term aesthetically pleasing. They've got these really sleek designs because it's not good enough just to have a computer that works. You want one that looks good and represents your brand. So if that's Apple's goal as a company, their workplace goal is to provide the ability for individuals to connect to the world in the simplest of ways using stylish devices. Well, when we think about our individual goals if we worked for Apple, it would become very clear what we need to do. If I was working as a hardware designer, my individual goal would be to make sure that when I'm designing things, that I'm thinking about sleek and simple designs that are elegant and match the Apple brand. I might have an individual goal that is to produce a new MacBook Air and come up with a new concept for what the new future Air would look like. And my individual goal would be linked directly to that workplace goal of providing people with elegant ways to connect in the world. If I was a genius working at the Apple shop and I provided help to people, I still need to be aligned to these workplace goals. So I still need to provide people with simple support options in a very elegant way. So I have to have a store that looks very elegant, okay, sleek and simple, and I have to make it really easy for people to get help. If I'm working for Apple and I'm responsible for packaging, I'm not even an IT worker, I just am responsible for the packaging of products. If Apple's design is connecting people in the simplest ways, in elegant, simple ways to the world, then I need to design packaging that is simple. And that's why when you open your box of your new iPhone or your new MacBook Air and you open it up, inside is your device, ready to go, ready to use. You open it up and it is ready to work. It's one single lid comes off, your device is sitting there, there's a single pamphlet that has all the information that you need, and there's a charger cable, and that's it. There's no technical packaging. They've made it really easy for you. It's really elegant in its design, and it fits with Apple's workplace goals. So if you think of this goal concept as rowing, like in the example you can see on the screen, you've got your workplace goal, and your workplace goal in this example is to paddle to the end of the river. You've got your team leader. Your team leader is there providing you with motivation, saying, you can do it, this is how we're going to do it, and giving you all individual advice on how you can do your job better. And then you've got you individually sitting there, responsible for your part of the plan, which is paddling. And if you stop paddling, this whole team stops working. And if the whole team stops working, then the company doesn't achieve its goals. This is what we mean by individual and workplace goals aligning and being integrated together. So that's the end of lecture 2. I hope that's been helpful for you. Remember, you've got some questions to answer, and then spend some time working on the first part of your assessment task. Good luck.